Said and Done with Eilat Meidan. Hi everybody and welcome to my podcast. And today I'm glad to host in the virtual studio from a distance recording, Sandhya Bar Kama. Hi Sandhya, welcome.
Hello everybody, hello.
Sandhya is teaching mindfulness for many, many years and the Buddhist tradition of teachings and practice, Vipassana and the Buddhist wisdom Dharma. And she's teaching in colleges and in, I don't know how you call it.
Insight Meditation Society in Israel.
And Sandhya is going to share with us today the wisdom of the Buddha, and we will try to focus on a subject that is how to decrease discomfort, discontentment, to live more at ease with the uneasy parts of life.
Yes. So first, Eilat, thank you very much for having me. It's lovely to be here again and to talk with you. And this topic is a very, very special topic for any time that we feel any kind of discontent and any kinds of suffering or dis-ease, or for any reason, whether it's an outside reason or inner reason, whether it's a personal health issue, relationship issue, global issue, political issue, whatever it is that is sitting on our hearts or on our shoulders and causes discomfort or discontent in our lives, and we may think that there's nothing we can do. I mean, of course, it's very natural to feel not at ease when things are not going as we would like them to go. But it actually, the Buddhist very radical claim is that it is possible to feel at ease and to feel contentment even during situations that outside are not ideal, not even optimal.
And when we can't control things and change, we must say,
Right.
because sometimes we can change our lives, make decisions that can really change things that we suffer from.
Absolutely.
Either job, relationship, medical situations that we can do something about, right?
Absolutely, yes. So I didn't mean to suggest that we be passive. Not at all, not at all. We can do and we should do anything that's in our power to change for the better, whether it's personal, whether it's communal, global. It's very important that we put 100%.
Yes, it's very important to mention this because we're not talking about a passive acceptance of life.
Right.
Yes, we're talking about a very active conscious behavior and thought to reduce the suffering that is not necessary.
Right.
Not the
Right.
suffering that we can remove.
Exactly. So what is really suffering that we can do something about and suffering that we cannot do something about? So I want to share a tale from the Buddhist tradition, and it's called the darts tale or the darts simile. And it talks about, I'll make it like a bit of like a story. Imagine we walk in nature, very nice day, very beautiful. The birds are singing, the flowers are blooming, nice and sunny. And suddenly, out of nowhere, a dart hits us. And we also have darts on our, with us. So we pull one out and we stretch the bow, but we turn the bow around and shoot a dart at ourselves, and then pull another one and shoot another one. And the Buddha asks us actually, what hurts more? To be wounded by one dart or to be wounded by many? And of course, it's a rhetorical question. It's better to be wounded only by one dart. So, what are these darts in this simile? The first dart is the inevitable circumstances and situations in life.
Mm-hmm.
So things happen, divorce and loss and health issues and, whatever happens in life, like we get fired from work or we have a child with special needs or, things that happen. And as you
To all
said,
of us, yes,
to
we
all
must
of
mention
us.
everyone will experience some kind of discomfort and suffering in their lives, in their life journey.
Absolutely. And we will talk in a minute about that, about the First Noble Truth, but what you just said is exactly the words of the Buddha, who actually said, what is the difference between someone who practices mindfulness, practices meditation or yoga or practices awareness and practices whether the Buddhist path or other spiritual paths? What is the difference between someone who practices and someone who does not? And what you just said is what the Buddha said. Bad things will happen to all of us, whether we practice or not, because these are things we have no control over and we don't choose them. So first of all, I want to say that if you, the listeners, are practitioners of the path, any path, I hope this gives you some comfort in feeling like it's not your fault if something unwanted has happened in your life. It happens to all of us, as you said. But then the Buddha continues to say, what is the difference? The difference is that the person who practices stays with only one dart, with only one wound of the inevitable events of life, the events that we cannot control. What are the other darts that hurt us even more? Those are those that we stuck at ourselves. Those are our reactions to those events in life that we can't control. So like self-blame and self-criticism. I'm hearing a lot of rain.
Yeah, there's a
coming
lot
down.
of rain in my in my surroundings now.
Yes,
Yeah,
it's coming. I can see it through the window. It's coming this way as well.
it's quite crazy what's going on
Yes,
outside now.
it sounds
Wow.
like a storm.
It is a storm, and we are talking about how we can find ease in the storms of life.
Exactly.
So I do not want to ignore it. I want to mention it. That life is synchronizing with our speech and talk.
Yes. It's giving us in real time, examples in real time. Well, it's a good example. The other dots are like self-blame and self-criticism, or blaming others and finding faults with others, or feeling poor me. This only happens to me. Why should I suffer? I'm the only one. I'm a freak, or something is wrong with me. Or meeting it with aversion and aggression. So these are all unuseful.
Pessimistic kind of thinking.
Yes.
Things are only going to get worse.
Exactly.
I'm on a downhill.
Exactly.
My life is ruining slowly, slowly. Like all this negativity
Yes.
in our minds that is controlling the mind, and we believe it.
Right.
We identify with it.
Exactly. And like, this is the end of the world, or this is going to ruin me, and I'm a failure, and this is only proving that I'm a failure, etc., etc., etc. And these are, another dart, another dart, another dart. And the Buddha said, pain of the body is inevitable, but suffering of the mind is optional. And it may feel like, well, I don't have an option. How can you say I have an option? Because, like, as you just said, I let the mind and the thoughts take over, and they're very strong. How can I control it? Well, first of all, awareness, mindfulness, awareness to what's going on in my mind, or to what are my habitual ways of responding, of reacting. We differentiate between response and reaction. Response, also connected to responsibility, is a wholesome and useful and adaptive response. And reaction is unwholesome, unskillful.
Automatic.
Automatic, exactly. Well put. Automatic response or reaction. And so if we just take the rain, for example, you could sit there and think, oh, that's terrible, the rain is ruining my podcast, and it's...
Even more than that, I can have thoughts, maybe I should cancel it. Because it's not appropriate to talk like that, it's not going to be professional, what people are going to think about it. But I didn't want to cancel it because I think that what we are talking about is really connected to living with what is.
Yes.
It's very important.
It's very important.
Because this is something I cannot control what's going on in my surrounding now.
Right.
But how can I live okay with it?
Some of it is, and as you said, whatever we can change and influence, we want to do it skillfully. But whatever we cannot change, at least we can change our inner climate, our inner atmosphere, and the way we meet the outer. Okay, the Buddhist tradition, and actually the third wave of modern psychotherapy are saying the same things, which is lovely, because with my other hat, I'm also a psychotherapist, that how we meet the situation will determine how we, our well-being a lot more, or at least, well, I want to say a lot more than the situation itself. So let's take the rain. I want to take the rain because it's simple, and some people may say, well, that's easy, okay, it's just rain, but I have really serious issues. All right, we'll get there. But I want to start with the little things because it's easier to practice there. And this practice of how to meet reality in a way that reduces discomfort and reduces discontent and reduces suffering is a practice. It's not something that, like, oh, I heard, it's a very good idea, that's it, I'm there. It's like, I don't know, practicing the piano or going to the gym, yes? We have to, again and again until something changes. And we start in the gym with just, 1 kilo, right? We don't start with 50 kilos, right? So the rain is 1 kilo. And so we notice, and this is the first step in any spiritual practice, is awareness. We cannot do awareness work without awareness, right? So first of all, we notice, okay, this is rain outside, and how do I meet it from the inside? What comes up inside me in the meeting, in the contact, through the ears and perhaps the eyes with the brain, okay? So what's coming up inside me with awareness? First step is awareness. Second step is, surprisingly enough, acceptance. If all these things come up inside me, like you said, oh, this is terrible, and this is going to ruin my podcast, and maybe I should cancel, I don't want to judge that. That is, as you said, an automatic response. I had a teacher.
A very human response.
Humanly enough.
Yes. Because
and,
we
and,
basically,
and natural.
basically, if we will all agree about it, that we want to feel good.
Yes.
We want to be content. We want to be happy. Happy, I say, yes, because we have like a vision of what happiness means.
Absolutely.
Yeah? And we don't want to suffer.
Right.
So if we could choose, we would never suffer. We would only feel good. Yes, so it comes that we have a conflict between this desire, which is human, and also childish probably. That we will always have good life and feel good.
No, it's not childish. It's a human, a birthright. It's our birthright to feel happy, to be happy, to feel good. We deserve to feel good. The only thing is that sometimes, or often, we look for happiness in the wrong places. We look for sustainable, everlasting happiness in places that are not sustainable, that are fragile. For instance, I'll give an example.
But what is sustainable?
Oh, there is.
No, I mean, everything around us is not sustainable. It's constantly changing and evolving.
Right.
Relationships, the body, everything. Yeah.
Absolutely. You're right. So if we kind of move, we're moving for, but I'm making a mental note to return to the rain. You are absolutely right. If we put our happiness and our well-being on something external, like I'm in a relationship, I have a partner, I have children, I have health, I have youth, I have a position in life, I have some amount in the bank. All this is changing, will change, and we know it. Relationships end, the children grow up and leave the house, I get fired from work, the health is not, it's changing, we're getting older, I wasn't born with gray hair and glasses, and the money in the bank, we know changes often. So if we put, it's like giving the remote control of our well-being to something else or someone else, and it's in their power whether we are happy or content or not. So you're absolutely right. That is not a reliable source for our well-being. Anything else external is not, or internal, because health, if we think of the body as ours, it's if we rely our well-being on any of that, and our not only well-being but also our meaning of life, and also our worth. Well, if it changes or if it's gone, then I have no meaning to my life and I have no worth. And of course, I'm very unhappy because I relied my happiness on something that is fragile and unreliable and changing. And these are the words of the Buddha. He says about himself that he went searching. He was a person like you and I, and all of you listeners. And he went out on a search to find the cure for suffering. And he said, I was looking and I noticed that if I put the weight of my happiness on something that is unreliable and not sustainable and subject to change, then my happiness will be unreliable and subject to change, etc., etc. And so he said, I want to find, and he claims that he did eventually, I want to find a source of happiness that is reliable, that is not dependent on the external situations and circumstances, So there is. So otherwise, there would be no point in practicing. And the Buddha said something very optimistic. I find it very reassuring and compassionate that he kept saying, this is possible. If it wasn't possible, I wouldn't have taught you that. I wouldn't teach you this. I'm teaching you this because it is possible.
So you want to go back to the rain and give us a small example
Yes.
of the inner thoughts and
Yes.
automatic responses that
Right.
we have towards the rain, and then we can maybe move on to some like deeper kind of
Yes.
challenges that we have in
Yes.
life.
Yes. So I said the first step is awareness. Recognize what's going on inside me. Okay, I'm aware that there's rain, but what's going on inside me? What's going on in my emotions, on the level of my emotions, on the level of my body, if the body is contracting, and what's going on in the level of my thoughts, what's going on on the mental and cognitive realm. First step is recognition. Second step, don't jump over it, is acceptance. No judging. As you said, Eilat, it's very automatic and humanly enough. All these thoughts and all these reactions and all these emotions. And I started saying before, I had a teacher who said a one-liner that I really love. Don't react to your first reaction. So if we say that the first reaction is the second dart, okay, the first dart is a red. The automatic reaction of, oh no, it's gonna ruin, it's terrible, it's the end of the world, that's another dart, okay? Let's stop here. Let's not now judge ourselves for these reactions, and this is another dart, another dart, and another
Yes.
dart, right?
Yes.
Judging myself, being angry at myself. Oh, I'm a spiritual practitioner. How can I even think that way? Then I'm judging myself, and then I'm mad at myself for judging myself
Yes,
because
wow,
I know I should know better.
It's a vicious
It's
circle,
endless.
very
Absolutely.
vicious.
Exactly.
Yes. And
So-
also, we must say that sometimes that when you are a practitioner, you expect more from yourself.
Yes.
So you have the spiritual ego come in and saying, "Oh, I'm not progressing in my path."
Yes.
This is another dart,
Yes.
like the spiritual ego, not
Yes.
only the automatic mind kind of, blah blah to myself about it, but also like the spiritual ego is like, "Oh no, you're not progressing
Right.
in your spiritual awakening."
Exactly. It's judgment. It's judgment upon judgment. It's like a layer cake, like the cake is like at the bottom, the chocolate cake. And so it's a layer, but cake is nice and tasty, and this is bitter. This is very bitter. So whether we call it spiritual ego, I don't like to call it spiritual ego because it sounds to me a little bit as a connotation of another judgment. It's not ego. I mean, it's not bad. It's just thoughts. It's automatic thoughts. Yes, now they take the shape of spiritual, judgment, but it's judgment all the same. So we recognize what's going on inside us. No matter how many layers we recognized of this cake, we stop where we can and we say, okay, I understand this is what's going on. This is the first reaction, and then maybe there are another dart, and I'm stopping here and I'm turning and giving acceptance to myself, to all this automatic and very quick. It's very difficult to control. I mean, we don't want to control. It's what's happening. We hug ourselves, we can literally hug ourselves, or we can, with our inner attitude, we develop kindness to ourselves. This is very, very crucial on any spiritual path, and on the Buddhist path, compassion. Compassion to ourselves, compassion to others. So we're turning compassion to ourselves. And as you said, we say it's very natural. But now that I have recognized what's going on, I turn compassion, acceptance, allowing and giving space to what has arisen in me. Now this is a junction of choice. Which do I choose to feed? Mm-hmm. Which, you know, there's a story many of you probably recognize from the Native American tradition of a grandmother sitting with her granddaughter, and tells her that we have two wolves inside us. One wolf is aggressive and judgmental and angry, and one wolf is peaceful and compassionate, and they have a fight. They are fighting between them inside us. And the child, the granddaughter says, "Granny, which of them wins? Which of the wolves win?" And the granny says, "The one we feed." Mm. So we recognize what's going on with us, and we have a junction. What do I want to feed now? Do I want to feed the fear and the automatic response and the unwholesome and not useful automatic response? Or do I want to cultivate the peaceful wolf inside me, the wisdom and compassionate part of me, which we all have? And we can talk to ourselves, and we can say, maybe Eilat, you share with us what you said about the rain to yourself.
It's also very interesting to learn about the way that our mind is working, because some people, they will self-blame, they have a lot of self-blame, probably from childhood, that we also have to look at it as something that is not from us. We got it on the way, And for me, I think that a lot of, I want to be okay with the society. So the one thing that came to my mind was, it's not professional. Mm. How would it sound? Mm. That people will hear the rain in my podcasts. Come on, it's not professional, man. Go to a studio. Go leave your house. No, but I said, okay, I want to record it in my house. I don't want to go to the studio, and I have a studio here where I live. I don't want to go there.
How did you manage, or what did you answer to these thoughts? How did you calm yourself, or how did you come to a decision, I'm not going to cancel this?
So first, before we started recording, I was asking you, do you hear the rain? How bad is it? Right. And when you gave me the affirmation that it wasn't so bad, I said, okay, that's good enough for me. Right. You will hear the rain in this podcast for sure, but the amount is okay. Right. It's reasonable. Right. I shouldn't cancel it because of it.
Right.
And what a pity if we cancel it, and then we have to find another date that you're available, and people will not hear this great podcast. So
also, we would have missed this opportunity of using the rain as a great example of. We are constantly. Reality around us is constantly not cooperating with our wishes. Constantly, and are we going to be victims of what's going on around us, or can we meet it with wisdom and awareness and stability? Okay, so your inner resources were there to aid you in the decision. Well, it's fine. It's good enough. It doesn't have to be perfect.
But I also did a reality check.
Yes.
I also did a reality check to my emotions, and I was asking you, how does it sound? Right. If you would tell me it sounds terrible, we would cancel it.
Right.
So this is also a decision, Life isn't perfect, but it's good enough.
Exactly. Exactly. And so this is a great example of how we can deal with anything that comes to our door. I mean, situations knock at our door, and sometimes it's wonderful and we're happy, and sometimes it's not. And I'm not saying we should be happy all the time. Not at all. I mean, there is sadness, and there are, sorrow, and things. I wish things were different on many levels. But as I said before, I want to repeat it because it's important. How we meet the situation will influence greatly how much we suffer or not suffer from the external and inevitable situation and events that we have no control over. So what we can control and what we can change, by all means, let's change it. It reminds me of the serenity prayer of the 12-step programs. It goes like, God or any power, give me the
power to change what I can change. Yeah, accept what I cannot change.
Right. Right. Give me the power or the courage. I like the word courage to change what I can, the serenity to accept what I cannot change, and the wisdom to know the difference.
Yes.
And that is very important, because the wisdom, you had the wisdom when you said, okay, if it's really bad with the rain, we'll postpone. We'll do the podcast another day. So that's the wisdom of discerning what is the right action right now.
I think we should take more examples, like from difficulties and challenges that we all experience in life. We can take some, maybe you want to share from your case of like health issues. I can share from mine. I can start with telling you, like, for instance, we can try to examine the four noble truths of the Buddha with something that I had yesterday, and was also this morning. My son, he doesn't want to go to school, and I keep talking to him about what's difficult for him, and I'm trying to talk to his teacher and to see how they can ease it for him there. And every time that he tells me, Mom, I don't want to go to school tomorrow. And sometimes it's like day after day, and not once a month, which is reasonable for me. Then I start to feel like, oh, what's going on? So my mind is going like, is he depressed? Is something going on in the class? He has like, problems with his friends, or is it too difficult for him? Maybe I should, change the school for him, for a different school, more alternative than the one he goes to. And then I go to the second layer of, oh, it's probably my fault. It's something in me that he's catching up. Maybe he feels my emotions and he's taking them. And I'm like going into like self-blame, like another layer of that. So this is like something that, it's a very daily, not like a big issue. He doesn't want to go to school, natural. Most of the boys in his age, he's 12, don't want to go to study all day long. It's boring. They want to be in a TikTok and YouTube shorts and in Minecraft. Yeah, much more than they want to stand and learn now the Bible or Hebrew or English or whatever. But I'm telling you this because I'm going through all these layers that you were talking about. Fear of what's going on with him. Then fear about, how am I dealing with it as a mother? Then blaming myself if something that I'm doing is not okay. So this is the suffering I think you're talking about that we can stop. Yeah?
Yes. It's a great example because I'm sure many, many people can relate. I think I want to differentiate between thoughts that lead, wise thoughts that lead to actions, that lead to wise actions, and thoughts that are futile and not skillful and harming. So, thoughts that say, I should check what's going on with him. Maybe he's depressed. I should check what's going on in the class. Maybe something he's not telling me. I should talk to his teacher. All the things that you mentioned that you are doing, like checking with him and talking with him. These are all useful actions. What's not useful, and you recognized it very beautifully, that you said, alongside with these useful and helpful, effective actions, alongside with them, there are also ineffective and not useful thoughts that are habitual. And as you said earlier, we all have tendencies, and some have tendencies to blame ourselves that is like the automatic reaction that comes up, and some of us have the tendency to immediately blame others.
Or to overanalyze. It's also a reaction,
Yes.
Because now I'm trying to analyze. This is also my habit. I'm trying to analyze whether it's like with the school thing of learning the problem, the emotional problem, the friend's problem. It's like I'm trying to analyze.
Well, again, this may be, or may not, but this may be a useful investigation or inquiry into, okay, well, yeah, what is it? What is his problem? And it can be a useful inquiry. What's not useful if it turns into just obsessive thinking rather than taking care of what's needed to be taken care of. And if it has a baggage, and sometimes it's just in the music of the words, of the inner words, of the thoughts, of self-blame or blaming others, or feeling helpless, or being angry, or being aggressive. All these are unnecessary baggages that kind of like lands on the reality that your son doesn't want to go, and that you have, well, both of you have to deal with it. That is the reality.
Mm-hmm.
And many of these questions you raised are wise. But what is not necessary is the other layers of self-blame or thinking to the future. Oh, he's never going to want to go to school from now on, and then what's going to become of him? And he's going to be, a nobody, because he doesn't study.
I don't have these, fortunately. I don't have these because I don't believe that school is doing any good to what you're going to be when you grow up. I don't believe in that, so.
Yeah, so, maybe you can find him an alternative. But just as an example, because other people may think that, or it can turn inward, like, I'm a bad mother, I'm not doing my job right, I'm corrupting him, I'm doing him a disservice, or whatever. Yes, these are the darts,
mm-hmm.
and these are the layers that, with awareness, we want to move aside and just stay with the simplicity of the situation. The emotions make it complex, and also they're perhaps not a simple solution. But the simplicity of the situation means staying with the facts and staying with the solutions that I'm thinking about, and perhaps if I let go of all the unuseful baggages, there's a place, and it becomes a space in me for some creative thinking and creative solutions, and some creativity that wasn't available there before, because this was very the whole inner space was stuck with these
mm-hmm.
emotions and reactions. So
I also want to share that in the reaction level, the first thing that I was reacting to him is anger. I was like, leave me alone with not going to school all the time, you know? I
Right.
can't tell your teacher you're not coming again and again. And so I was reacting with anger towards
Right.
him. And
Right.
then when I woke up this morning, and he didn't go to school, by the way. Yeah, but so I was very soft because I realized that I was aware of my anger as a reaction. I noted that it's a reaction.
Right.
And why am I angry? It's because I don't know what to do.
Right.
And I feel hopeless. And I feel like I don't have the answer. And when I face this emotion that I don't know what to do,
Right.
and I don't have the answer, I react in this way.
Right.
Very simple. And like you say, if I don't judge that this is the reaction, then I'm like, it left me. I was more free to just see the kid and talk to him softly. What's going on with you? Do you want to talk to me about it? Do you want to tell me some more?
Right. Right. So that's a beautiful description of the process you went through. And anger, I just want to mention that, is a secondary emotion, meaning there are always other emotions underneath anger. Like you just mentioned one of them, helplessness. I don't know what to do is a very difficult state of being. And most of us just jump out of this state of being to another emotion. So helplessness is so difficult to bear, and anger gives us energy. Helplessness is like, makes us like this, and anger, okay, I can do something about it. I can feel angry. I can, act with anger. I can speak with anger, and it feels like we have power. So anger kind of protects us from feeling helpless. Sometimes anger comes if we feel afraid. Sometimes anger comes when we feel hurt. So anger always.
I recognize what you say about being secondary to another emotion. I really agree with that. Yeah.
Right. So whenever we feel anger, first when we recognize we feel anger, then what we can do, what's the first thing we want to do after we recognize the anger? Self-acceptance, right? First of all, acceptance and compassion.
I can share that in my mind, I think I'm a very good mother. So I have this, it's established in me.
Good.
So after I have this judgment, well, what am I doing wrong? Maybe I'm putting my stuff on him. And so I'm reaffirming the good mother I am.
Good. So you spoke to yourself.
Yes.
Exactly. So this is one way we can deal with, because we speak to ourselves all the time, right? So it's good to recognize which way or what is the tone with which I'm speaking to myself. Is it judgmental? Is it criticism? Or can I change that to friendly and compassionate talking to myself? So yes, when we hear this noise of this criticism and judgmental words towards ourselves, we can, with the recognition, change it. And like you said, actually I know that I'm a good mother. It's not true that and we can always ask ourselves, is it really true when whatever it is that we say to ourselves that is negative? I'm a failure, I'm a bad mother, I'm a bad friend, whatever it is, I've no worth. We can always ask ourselves, is it really true? Do I really believe in it? And so when we recognize anger, accept ourselves with it, but then also continue to inquire what are other emotions underneath or with this anger that I'm feeling.
And what would you tell to a mother that is listening now and is actually believing that she's a bad mom? That she cannot say to herself like I did.
Yes. Well, whenever people say that what I'm saying is sounds really good and is a really good idea, but it's really difficult, if not to say impossible, then I say, well, my answer has 3 words: practice, practice, practice. So yes, as I said before, it's like the piano, you know. It's not like I go to 1 or 2 lessons and I'm like, oh, but I'm still not a Mozart, right? We have to practice. So again and again, we check what's going on in our mind, and we see how many of these darts are really necessary. So I would say specifically to this mother, perhaps you can ask yourself at this point, at this moment, where the kid didn't go to school, is it helpful right now to say to myself, I'm a bad mother, I'm a bad mother? Is it helpful in this situation? Or will it be better to put it aside and not even dispute, not even argue with it? Am I a good mother? Am I not? I'm a little bit, but yes, but no, you know, all that. Put it for a moment aside and just deal with the situation. As I said, meet with the simplicity of what is going on right now. What is going on right now? I have this child who doesn't want to go to school. I want to take some actions, and the thoughts and questions that lead to effective, wholesome, helpful actions, this is where I put my energy. I'm not going to let the mind take me to generalizations, okay?
Yeah.
I'm a good mother is a generalization. We take something very specific, an event, the child doesn't want to go to school, and we make it general about ourselves, or about the child, or about the future, what's going to happen with him, or about the school and his teacher, whatever. We generalize it, and that's not helpful and not skillful. And the worst, it creates a lot of suffering.
Yes.
And yes, go ahead.
No, I think that maybe we should take another example. It's nice that we will move on from the rain to my daily issue with my kid to another thing that people are dealing with all the time is health issues.
Yes.
And this is something that requires a lot of attention, that we will not fall into this misery that is not necessary.
Right. So I want to quickly mention the 4 noble truths, because you refer to them. So the first noble truth is that there is suffering in this world, and suffering is a translation from the Pali word dukkha, and dukkha means the whole spectrum of discontent and unease, disease, all the way to real suffering, the whole spectrum. And the second noble truth speaks about the cause for discomfort or discontent. And the third noble truth speaks of the end of suffering, the end of dukkha, the end of discontent. And the 4 noble truth is the way, the eightfold way for
decreasing the suffering,
bringing the end to any kinds of suffering. So there are 8 kind of aspects of it. So one thing to realize, and I'll share about my health condition, one thing to realize is that as long as we are alive, there is a body and mind, there are going to be situations that we are not going to be happy with. And for me, one of them was over a year ago, that I had an appendix removing surgery, and it got complicated and something that was supposed to be really simple got very, very complicated and turned to be with a lot of infection. And I was a few weeks. I was hospitalized and treated with a lot of antibiotics, and suffered a lot of physical pain, and it was a challenge. It was a great challenge. And what really helped me during this time was first remembering that the first noble truth, that there is suffering when there is a body, and the body is organic, is nature.
Yeah.
It breaks, it is sometimes sick and ill, and
Basically subject to changes, constant changes.
Constant changes and deterioration, like anything in nature. And things, and as we all know, cells with age, they die. Cells die. They stop changing, and and the body eventually dies. So for the body to be sick and to get old and then to die eventually is part of life. And that is, I find, very helpful, because it reduces the expectations that none of it will happen. Oh, why did it happen to me? It shouldn't happen to me, or it should, or also blame to others, like why they didn't take care of it in the right way or right away, because there was a delay, and a delay that caused the abruption of the appendix, and or I could have blamed myself. Maybe I didn't eat right, or didn't exercise enough, or whatever. But accepting that this is a body, and the body goes through things, that, as I said before, I'm not happy with it. I didn't invite it. I didn't choose.
You would like it to end.
I would like it to end. I would have liked it not to happen in the first place. But now that it's here, how can I meet it with stability, with a stable mind? The more the mind is stable, the more we can meet the situation without the additional darts. This is the situation. This is the simplicity of the situation. I'm in the hospital. I'm suffering from a lot of physical pain. The mind is very fuzzy, blurry, not
also
focused.
from the medications.
From the medication, from the anesthesias, from the antibiotics. This is the simplicity of the situation. If I can first accept that, just to accept that. And I'm not saying I was constantly, all the time, accepting it, but I had the North Star. This is where the practice shows or aims to, stability and acceptance, and meeting the situation with wisdom.
Equanimity.
Yes. With meeting the situation with equanimity and wisdom. Exactly. So as much as we can, and of course, sometimes we can more, sometimes we can less, just like, with your son. Some days, or yesterday you felt angry, today you felt compassion and soft. So I had nights, especially nights that were very, very difficult. And then there was morning. And one thing that helped me, when I remembered, and I didn't always remember, but when I remembered or was reminded by my partner, by my friends, that everything changes. like you keep saying, Eilat, you keep saying everything changes, and it's true. So the night will end, even though it feels like it will never end, and the painkillers are not working, and it's very, very painful. It will end, and then the morning comes, and then perhaps I feel a little better. And of course, it's not a linear progression, and then some days I feel better, and then other days I feel terribly worse, and it goes back, and the whole stomach situation is not. And then after a few weeks, I go back home, and a week or two pass, and then I go back to the hospital because things are not right. And this went back and forth 4 times for 4 months until I had a second surgery. And I'm still in the process of recovering. I'm not back to usual, whatever that means. And so the knowing that this is what is, I want to change what I can. So I put it in the hospitals, in all the different hospitalizations that I went through. I wanted to put as much effort as I could in walking, for instance, because they told me I should walk a lot. And my partner Anat, at 6 o'clock in the morning after the second operation, 6 o'clock in the morning, she made me get up. I said, please, give me 1 more hour or 2 to rest. No, you have to walk. She kind of forced me almost to get up and walk in the hospital, the corridors back and forth. I was doing a lot of walking meditation, just step, step, step. And the mind goes, what's wrong, and what if it doesn't go away, and what if it gets worse? The mind goes to the future and creates fear. What creates fear, this is always the truth, is thoughts about the future. So every time I recognized, as much as I could, with a fuzzy mind, with a blurry mind, with all the antibiotics, as much as I could, every time I caught a thought that is going to the future, I stopped it. It's like with scissors, the thoughts through the mind, and we cut it, cut, and back to what? To the present moment. What is just right now? And what is right now? I'm walking. Step, 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 step. And the mind goes, and I bring it back. This is meditation. This is walking meditation. Step, step. And the same in my bed, in the hospital, whenever unhelpful, unskillful thoughts came in, as I said, practice, practice, practice. Whenever we recognize these thoughts, we go back to the moment. What's happening right now? Right now, for instance, right now, you and I are sitting in 2 different places in the country, and I can feel my feet on the ground. I can feel my back leaning against this chair. I'm aware of the sounds of my voice, your voice. I'm aware of what I'm seeing. I'm aware of the computer. I'm aware of your face and your eyes.
Maybe you could move on with that to your practice today, because you're teaching people this practice of meditation.
Yes.
And you just, acknowledged all this sensual things that help you to reconnect to the center and to the moment.
Right.
So from that, maybe you want to give us more of your practice, like meditation practice or metta, whatever you want to share with us today.
Great. So let's, I can lead very short, like 5-7 minute meditation. And
maybe you want to say something about why do we have to do it with our eyes closed? Because some people feel really discomfort when their eyes are closed and they prefer to just, stare at something. Is it the same?
Yes. Yes, absolutely. In fact, the Zen tradition, the Zen Buddhism, they are practicing with eyes open, but sitting in front of a wall. So you don't look at anything in particular, just a wall. So yeah, feel free to either close the eyes if you're comfortable with that or not, and if you keep your eyes open, just like lower the eyes to like a meter in front of you and kind of like not looking at anything in particular. And so okay, let's practice. And I think because of what we talked about, maybe we just practice meditation with mindfulness to the here and now, to strengthen this muscle
Yeah.
of coming back to the here and now. And if I just one more word, connecting it, for instance, to the rain and to the example of your son. So what's happening just right now, it kind of helps, and if we practice this ability or this skill to be connected to the now, it will be easier to come down, because most of us live here, right? 24/7, we live here. So to come down to the body and to the breath and to the senses, even just for 1 second, every time 1 second we come back to the body. So the rain and all these thoughts, oh my God, now the rain is getting worse and I hope it's not ruining the podcast. Okay, right now, right back to the body. And with the sun, the same. Okay, right now, and as you said, you're beautifully implementing all this, because you said, I got up this morning and I realized I'm feeling much softer. So there was a connection with what is right now. So let's practice. So we can, if we feel comfortable, very gently close our eyes and find a comfortable position in which the back is relatively straight and the rest of the body is very relaxed and very at ease, as much as we can. And we can put both feet on the ground or sit in a cross-legged position. And let's take 2 or 3 deep breaths. And slowly let the breath return to its natural rhythm. And we can become aware of the body and the sensations that we feel right now. We can turn our attention to the feet and how they feel right now, whether they are in shoes or barefoot. What are the sensations in the feet right now? And we can move on to the hands. What are the sensations? Whether the hands are touching each other or the thighs. And we can feel the sensations with the chair, the body sitting, leaning, all the places that the body is meeting. The chair, our buttocks, our back, What are the sensations? And we can gently bring our attention to the breathing process. We notice breath, breathing in and breathing out. Air is coming in, air is leaving the body, goes out. And without changing the rhythm of the breath, letting the breath be as it is, moment to moment. We can just bring our attention to knowing when it is an inhale and to knowing when it is an exhale. Sometimes the breath is deep, sometimes the breath is shallow. It doesn't matter. It's just the focus of our attention that tends to wander. So whenever we notice that the attention went somewhere else, we gently bring it back to the breath. Sometimes the breath is long, sometimes it's short. Sometimes it's fast, sometimes it's slow. And we are just practicing being with the breath as it is, moment to moment. We are aware when it is an inhale. We are aware when it is an exhale. And we are aware when the attention wanders. And when we realize the attention wandered, gently, softly, we bring the attention back to the breath. Slowly, the mind activity slows down. Slowly, with the practice, the mind and its movement becomes quiet or quieter. And we can stay longer with the body and the breath, with the movement of the belly, with the movement of the chest. This is the landing point of our attention, the movement of the belly, the movement of the chest. But tell us whether it is an inhale or an exhale. And now let's take one deep breath again and let go. And gently, when you're ready, we can open our eyes. So just one word of explaining this kind of practice. There are many different mindfulness practices. This kind of practice really enhances stability, equanimity. And when we have this stability and equanimity, we can then turn our attention wisely to the way the mind creates suffering. Because I hope from this conversation, it has become clear that what causes suffering and dukkha and discontent is the mind. Discontent is not in the outer circumstances or the health circumstances. Discontent is in the mind. And we can free the mind, and that is the revelation of the Buddha. If we free the mind from discontent, then we can meet whatever situations there are around us with equanimity and stability and wisdom and compassion, and not feel discontent or suffering anymore. This is the promise of the Buddha. This is like, okay, it's somewhere there, but when we have a direction, when we have a North Star, we know where we're going to. And we don't judge ourselves for not being there yet. I'm here, but I know where I'm going to. And I find this hopeful, optimistic, and full of hope.
Yes, very much. So I would like to invite whoever listens to Sandhya. I will give you her WhatsApp group link and her Facebook. And obviously you can find mindfulness teachings and practices where you live. And choose to increase your well-being. It's a choice.
Absolutely.
So I want to really thank you, Sandhya Bar Kama, for this conversation. And I really hope that we contributed to you and if you're still listening till now. And thank you, Sandhya.
Thank you, Eilat. I really, really appreciate what you do with your podcasts and how important it is to the world, especially nowadays, but it's always important. And it's delightful to talk to you.
Thank you.
So thank you very much for inviting me.
Thank you. And thank you all for watching or listening. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Said and Done with Eilat Meidan.